Councilor Ian Abreu calling us this morning, and I do appreciate that. And he's doing this on very, very short notice, and at the expense of his family. It is Sunday morning. But Ian has been very much involved in this debate and discussion and policy on legalization of marijuana and how it's going to be regulated in the city of New Bedford. We're just getting the regulations. We got them on Friday, during Hanukkah, during the week before Christmas. Not a great look for the state of Massachusetts. But Ian, what are you thinking about now as head of the Cannabis Zoning Commission here for the city of New Bedford? What are your thoughts?
So a couple of things. First, thank you for having me on. Second of which, during your opening monologue, you talked about those poor saps who had dead batteries on their cars this morning.
Right.
I was one of them. Yes. What a nice morning to find out that your car battery has died as you're trying to start your car down here by the West Beach in the south end of the city, and you've got the breeze coming up. That was quite a great experience at 6:30 in the morning.
Oh.
But it's all good. Could have been worse, right?
Yes, exactly.
So anyway, putting the candor aside, I mean, I, like you, I received these notifications over the weekend and these rulings, and releasing these things on a Friday afternoon, late in the day, during Hanukkah, during Christmas, during the holiday season. It's obviously very questionable, but it is what it is. It's
right
out there. Couple of things jump out at me right off the bat. So a regular pot retailer shop can be set up like a liquor store. So you go in, you buy the product, you take it home, very simply put. So we'd have to look at that in regard to how we zone and treat liquor establishments here in the city, and that goes through our licensing board, Nick Nanopoulos, and his office, and Steve Borgard, who's the chairman of that office. So we're going to have to work with the administration on how we can set up those mechanisms, talking about, the two different types of on-site consumption licenses that are being released. So we're getting that information now as all of this has come to fruition. You've got one of the main ones, which will be most of them usually, would be the license where 50% or more of your revenue is generated from on-site consumption of this product. So that would be like a cannabis cafe. I know you were talking about that earlier this morning. And then the second license would be a mixed-use license. So that would be if you wanted to open up a restaurant or a movie theater or a massage parlor or a yoga studio and have cannabis as part of the atmosphere there as you're partaking in whatever activity that may be. That's very open for interpretation. We need to kind of flesh that out and find out what that's all about because, for example, say there's a restaurant already in New Bedford that now wants to offer cannabis as part of their customer service, as part of what they provide to the community.
Right.
Now, are they able to get a variance on their licensure already and add that, or are they not allowed to do that? And if they are allowed to do that, does this take a license off the table for someone new who may want to invest in our community? So I think that has to be defined. We really don't know where to go with that. So that's very interesting. Another point that really jumped out at me are the allowances of these marijuana research facilities.
Right.
In my opinion, this could foster greater scientific understandings of the health effects or the medicinal value of cannabis. So the commission has agreed to create a special license category for marijuana research facilities. And I think that's really interesting when you think about a lot of the great biotech momentum we've had here on the South Coast and in Massachusetts. MIT is right up the road, and look at some of the great science and engineering work we've been having on the South Coast region. So that's very interesting to me, especially when we're looking to continue to study the plant, the medicinal values, the holistic values, the pros and cons.
Sure.
There are drawbacks to marijuana as there is to alcohol. So this is a good way to be pragmatic, I think, too, and kind of see and delve into further studies of the product. So those are some of the things that really jumped out at me. The diversity, of course, jumped out at me as well about the disproportionate placement of these dispensaries in economically disadvantaged neighborhoods, and what does that mean socioeconomically for some of these neighborhoods. I've got some concerns about that as well, and some questions. I'm not really sure what the rationale was behind some of that decision, but we're going to have to further flush this out. And, again, we're still very early in the ballgame.
Right.
We still have a few months to go. The public comment period hasn't started up yet, so this hasn't been marked up, really. This is just kind of a rough shell or a draft that they want to go by, and then they'll mark it up as they go along with the hopes that by the end of April, the state is ready to rock and roll, and so are these municipalities.
No, and I think it's a very important thing that we stress that this is very early, and it was literally dumped in our laps on a Friday, and it still is tentative. It's the public comments ends in March. So, now, what do you think? Again, not holding you to this, Councilor, because it is we just got this. What do you think the next move is for your committee here in the city of New Bedford? What are your thoughts?
Well, we'll have to see what the thoughts are of the next council president, and once we kind of get our committees formed. But I will tell you that we have certainly a willingness of cooperation to work with our administration. We've had discussions about wanting to work together on this process. I think the only way we're going to zone this appropriately and regulate this appropriately, all while still instilling the will of the voters and those who spoke last November, is to work together, working with our health department, working with our police chief and our law enforcement officials, because I know Chief Cordero, who does a fantastic job, I know he has concerns about some of the socioeconomics of marijuana and cannabis in general. So we'll have to work together collaboratively. The chief does understand that the voters spoke,
right.
And that's the way it played out. So he gets that, he respects it, but he certainly deserves to have a seat at the table. And I would think that to not give him a seat at the table in this dialogue wouldn't be very pragmatic. So I know the mayor is interested in doing that as well, as am I, and I'm sure the rest of my colleagues are as well. Again, 58% of Massachusetts last November voted for this. In New Bedford, 57.4% voted for it. We have 36 voting precincts. 33 out of the 36 voted for this in the affirmative. So it really was a mandate. But the thing about it is the constituency voted for it, and it went to the ballot before, and we voted for it, and now it was incumbent upon the House and the Senate and the governor to kind of get this all ready to rock and roll and get this all set up, sign it into law, and then it went to the Cannabis Commission to figure out how we're going to zone it. But this is the nitty-gritty stuff. People spoke. They understand the concept. They want safe and legal access to recreational cannabis, and the thought process is we'll eliminate the black market. However, with that being said, now it's up to all of us to really roll up the sleeves and do the nitty-gritty. I will tell you, I've done some more research this morning, and I've kind of looked around. It doesn't look as though the Cannabis Commission is going to get into the business of zoning. It looks as though they're going to let that up to the municipalities to figure that one out.
And that's good, right?
Yeah. Well, medicinal really does, for medicinal, which, medicinal passed in 2012, they really didn't get into zoning other than it couldn't be 500 feet from a church or a school or where children congregate. That was the only real stipulation they had. So I'm pretty sure that they'll have that again, at least that very bare bones stipulation. But even if they didn't, I can tell you I'm not interested in putting these near schools, and I know most of my colleagues in government probably would agree on that. Like liquor stores, I mean, you wouldn't want a package store across the street from where your children are, right? Again, there's a way to make this work for everyone. At the end of the day, probably one certain group will be a little more happier, or one might be less happy than the other. But we'll do the best we can to try to at least find some middle ground for everybody.
Well, I appreciate it. We're speaking with Ian Abreu, who's the chairman this year of the Cannabis Regulatory Committee here for the city of New Bedford. Just want to shift gears here for a second, Ian. What's I know we had a big development out at the airport. Tell us a little bit about that.
And you talked about it being so cold. Boy, that flight yesterday. I'm standing up on the observation deck at our airport. We've got the sideways snow blowing in our face, and of course the pilot, before they took off during the little ribbon cutting, had to say it's 70 degrees in Vero Beach, Florida. So mighty tempting. But yeah, so your station's reported it. It's been all over social media, and I know the local newspaper has reported it. But we're now going to be offering direct flight service between our regional airport, and we're connecting that in a direct flight to the state of Florida in Vero Beach. It's a trial run. We're going to start this. We started it yesterday to and from Florida, right out of New Bedford. These smaller planes, they seat about 50 people, and you get to Florida in about 2.5 hours. This is good for folks who might live in Florida, who may be snowbirds, who have property up here, or a family down there. They want to come back and forth. Those who may want to go visit Disney, who live in New Bedford, who may want to just not deal with Logan or Green Airport. It's a little bit more, it's a couple more bucks. It's about $230 some odd to get there each way. But again, you got to factor in quality of life. You got to factor in no airport parking, expensive fees. You just get dropped off.
Right.
No long lines. The TSA line is very efficient, very quick. And it's about 45 minutes from Orlando, and there's a Disney resort in Vero Beach, and Vero Beach is beautiful.
Right.
So this is great. This was historic yesterday. It was the first time in modern history that our city has been able to establish a connection between our community and Florida, and this has the potential to generate real robust tourism and economic dollars for our communities. It can create two-way commerce. It's a trial run. We're going to be doing this for a little over a month, see how it goes. But the early numbers and the excitement that have been generated are starting to lean more towards this will be a great success. And hopefully this opens up the doors to other flights that might want to come in and out of New Bedford. And I support the initiative. I think this is a great thing for our city.
Hey, no, I think it is too. It really is that airports have been underutilized, and this is a great opportunity for New Bedford. You talk about this, the hotel. These are private investments as opposed to government mandated investments, and they really indicate great things. Hey, Ian, I want to thank you very much for joining us today.
Always a pleasure, Chris. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to you and all of your listeners.
Thank you so much, Ian. That was Ian Abreu, the city council member at large, who apparently needs to ask Santa Claus for a new battery. He's the second person today, right, Matt, the engineer, who's told us that their battery died in this cold weather. Miserable. Nothing worse than car problems, except car problems when you're oceanside and it's 13 degrees. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
here comes Santa Claus, here comes Santa Claus, riding down Santa Claus Lane. Blitzen, blitzen, all here's a reindeer pulling on the rein.
Santa Claus comes tonight. Yeah, I try to. I can't never get the background music, or I would sing that part for Elvis. But he does an okay job compared to me. I'm Chris McCarthy. This is Sunday Brunch. I'm just kidding around. Want to thank Ian Abreu for taking time away from his family to, to join us here. Join us on the radio. This is an inconvenient time for a lot of people, particularly this time of year. I'll be in tomorrow filling in for Brian. I'll be here from 10 to 12 and to enjoy you folks. I hope you can join us tomorrow as well. I want to draw your attention to today's New Bedford Standard Times. Scott Lang has a piece in there about the unprecedented constitution. It's called Unprecedented Constitutional Crisis with a question mark. Hardly. The U.S. has been here and done this before. It's a very good piece. You can find it online. I had an opportunity to read it. Just lays out the fact that everyone's so upset about the president. We're going to impeach him. What will happen? And he just points out, look, we've been through this stuff before. We've had problems in our country before where with presidents. And that this isn't, you're not living through anything unique, basically. It's kind of important, I think, to remind, especially some of our millennial friends, some of the snowflakes, the kind that don't fall from the sky, that, relax for a second here. We've been here. Our system is designed to be very resilient, and it has proven to be very resilient, even when some people decide to go outside of the system. The late Eddie Johnson, who we miss tremendously. One of the things that was very interesting about Eddie is that Eddie decided a long time ago to work within the system, understand the system is slow, it's cumbersome, but it's the system and it's the best way to make change. And he encouraged his people, younger people, to do the same thing. Try to stay in the system, work in the system. I know you're frustrated, you're not getting the change you want, but stay within the system, work within the system. And I think that's one of the messages of Scott Lang's piece here on Trump. And he doesn't like Donald Trump, obviously. Doesn't support him whatsoever. Except that he supports the president because it's the president. He doesn't support his political positions, though. But that, hey, we've been, it's not a big deal. Don't get that worked up about it. Stay within the system. Work within the system. So if you get a chance today, pick up the Standard Times or go to southcoasttoday.com. Read what Scott has to say there. Remember, he's he wasn't just the mayor of New Bedford. He's worked at Capitol Hill. He was down there in the 70s. He was there through through those important times in our country, and of course participated in the Democrat Party, which means you participate in the total electoral system around the country, working for the party. All right, another interesting piece in the Standard Times today. Boy, they ought to start paying me. But interesting piece on Amazon. Remember way back when, I think it was this summer, Amazon put out a request for proposal for a new headquarters where they would put 50,000 jobs, a $5 billion investment, capital investment, and then 50,000 jobs. And New Bedford threw their hat in the ring, along with numerous other communities in Massachusetts and then, of course, across North America. This is not just a United States opportunity. It's for Canada and Mexico as well. And there's some very legitimate reasons why they could go to Canada for the global political portion of it. Mexico less so, maybe. But you never know. But the city of New Bedford has their hat in there. And so the Standard Times has a very interesting article today about where the city stands. Just the city of New Bedford, of course, we've discussed this quite a bit here on this program in particular. We had Hugh Dunn in a long time ago, who's an economic development professional in addition to being a city councilor for the city of New Bedford and an attorney, and he went through the proposal and what he thought where we benefited from it. Today's article has Mayor Mitchell talking more about it, Matt Santos at the Economic Development Committee, and those folks about what New Bedford has to offer. And one of the important parts of this is not, will New Bedford get it? I don't know. I'm a cheerleader here. There are obviously, with all the benefits New Bedford has, there are other communities that also have very unique benefits. However, I think if they decide Massachusetts, I think New Bedford's got a really good shot. There are reasons why they wouldn't decide Massachusetts, though. That being said, being part of the process is very important. This article today, if anyone today, I don't know how many of you do this. I use Google News Search, and they'll send you an update. If you put in certain search terms, they'll send you updates on any news related to what you're looking for. Mine is mostly obituaries of my enemies, I'll be very honest with you. No, I'm just joking around. Kind of. But anyway, there are certain things that interest me, and I keep them. So Google will send me an email telling me, hey, with a link to the article. So if anyone's following the Amazon headquarters, and believe me, a lot of people are following it for a variety of reasons. A lot of people are following it. This article will turn up today on the Google search for Amazon's headquarters all over the world. People will read about New Bedford and the great opportunities here. Additionally, the city itself will get some real-world practice in pitching a deal to a Fortune 100 company, which is a unique opportunity. The people involved in these acquisitions of land and building of headquarters, they don't all stay in one place. They move around. They have different contacts. So New Bedford being in the mix means New Bedford has the opportunity to be in the mix again. In other words, the people at Amazon, people who follow the Amazon deal, say it goes, all right, so let's say it ends up in, I don't know, Mobile, Alabama. Because Roy Moore lost the election, everything must now be focused on Alabama. Alabama's the future of America, don't you know? Well, anyway, let's say the headquarters ends up in Mobile, Alabama. Now you got another deal coming down. Someone's looking for a new headquarters, IBM, you name it. Maybe a company that we can't even think of right now because, let's face it, Amazon, Google, eBay, all of these companies, we never even knew about them 15 years ago. So we didn't know about 5 years ago. All right, so someone says, well, look, I saw this proposal from New Bedford for Amazon. This could be what we're looking for. Additionally, the staff at the city, the political part of the city, the elected officials, they're all gaining information, experience, and expertise in this process. By applying for it, well, think about it this way. Maybe some of you are at the stage of your career where you're looking to advance, and so you're applying for jobs. You're even applying for jobs that you probably aren't going to get, but you're doing it because you want to get the experience applying, learning the process. That's not uncommon. I can remember someone who was looking for a superintendent's job, who ultimately became a superintendent, interviewing for a whole bunch of jobs, knowing full well they weren't getting those jobs. But they just wanted to be in the process, to learn the process, so they'd be better when the real opportunity arose. And that's where New Bedford is, in this Amazon. They could get it, or they could get a splinter, a piece of it. But even if they get nothing, even if it doesn't come to Massachusetts, which is completely out of New Bedford's control, obviously, the people in the administration, the people on the city council, and the economic development professionals are going to get some real-world experience out of this that's important to the city. And the city's going to get some tremendous exposure that they would otherwise not get. It would cost, well, it would cost millions of dollars for the great publicity that the city is going to get by participating in this process. You know, I look back on the sailing, the Olympic sailing piece that John Mitchell did. It was years ago now. And I thought it was great. I really thought it was great. And hey, look, the city of New Bedford was selected, if Boston got the Olympics, to get the sailing aspect of it brought to New Bedford. It was part of the deal. Tremendous. Hey, it fell through, whatever, it doesn't matter. The city of New Bedford got exposure because of Mayor John Mitchell's successful application to bring sailing, Olympic sailing to New Bedford, that it would otherwise not have gotten. Would you have liked to have gotten the whole thing? Of course. But maybe we wouldn't have, actually. As I see it, we probably wouldn't have, truthfully. And that has nothing to do with the sailing. The Olympics are like a disaster financially for a lot of communities. So who knows what the state of Massachusetts would have actually gotten out of it. It could have been a real bad financial deal. My point is, the city of New Bedford benefited from being selected by the Olympic Committee of Boston to host the sailing. And that's where we're at again. The fact that New Bedford is in the Massachusetts mix to house the Amazon headquarters, and the publicity and the learning that's coming out of it is a win. If we get it, it'd be incredible. Imagine 50,000 jobs here. Imagine 50,000 jobs with an average salary of $100,000. Look, even if it comes to the greater Massachusetts area, you could see economic benefit. If it went into the Boston area, particularly the Weymouth Naval Station that they're looking at, that's one of the pieces, you'd see a lot of spin-off down here still. Still should be looking, probably trying to bring an Amazon warehouse or a Walmart warehouse or one of these facilities like they have in Fall River and Freetown to the greater New Bedford area. That would be a big bonus. But again, the Standard Times has a great article today. I would encourage you to check it out. I'm Chris McCarthy. This is Sunday Brunch. We'll be here till 12:30 today, and then the NFL gets started. I'm excited about the Patriots game against the Steelers. A little worried. We'll talk about that just around 12:20 or so when John Sapichetti calls in to give us his picks for the weekend games. Again, those are only those are for entertainment purposes only. We're not expecting that you're going to gamble on those. They're entertainment purposes. Now, you may have been following this. The legalization of sports betting may become a bigger thing than it is. A bigger legal thing than it is. Currently, you can only legally gamble on sports. Everyone's laughing as I say this. You can only legally gamble on sports in Las Vegas. And you can't use a phone to contact them. That's against the law. At least you can't from Massachusetts. However, Chris Christie, the soon-to-be ex-governor of New Jersey, he sued it's in the courts to allow every state, if they want to be able to take bets on sports, professional sports. Well, actually, I shouldn't say just professional. I would assume college as well. That could be a real game changer in terms of revenue. You notice how the only new revenue we're getting is stuff we can steal from organized crime? The lottery, right? Drugs. And now sports betting. We should ask the mafia what they're planning on doing next and then try to get ahead of them on it. Why don't we hire these mafia guys to be consultants for the government? I don't mean professional witnesses for the government like they are now. Why don't we ask him, hey, mafia guy, what's Whitey Bulger doing in his golden years? I mean, he's got time on his hands. Of course, he wasn't really an innovator the way our Jewish and Italian gangster friends were. Not all of them, but some of them. Whitey Bulger was more of he'd find out what you were doing to make money, then he'd show up and stick a gun in your face. We don't really need that. Because that's what the government's doing already. They already know that give us a piece of the money or we'll put a gun in your face. They got the Bulger thing down. I got the ball adjusting down. Folks, I see you on hold. Stick around for 1 second. I'm going to take a quick break. Remember, folks, enjoy Christmas, enjoy the holidays, and enjoy our sponsors. They really make this all happen. Hey, I'm feeling mighty fine as well this Sunday morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm Chris McCarthy. That was Elvis Presley. You know, I'm watching this. I find these things on YouTube, you know. Hope YouTube doesn't find out I'm doing it. But they have some Thomas Kincaid paintings. You ever see those around the Christmas time? He paints with light. He's dead. I think he killed himself. He painted beautifully joyous pictures and then he killed himself, I think. Which, you know, that's whatever. It's his time to go. It's not your time, though, so don't take that as an encouragement. A lot of people make fun of him. They don't like him. They think they're hokey and things like that. But I always look at those paintings. I think they're so nice. Those Thomas Kincaid paintings. He used to have a gallery. He had galleries all over the country. He had one in the Providence Mall. I used to go there and look at the paintings. I never bought any of them, but really nice stuff. I think. Other people make fun of it. 60 Minutes did a special on him one time where they just were like laughing at the guy. Anyway, I'm Chris McCarthy. This is Sunday Brunch. We'll go back to the phones. Thanks for holding your lab in WBSM.
I wonder how many of your listeners belong to the Mensa organization or have ever considered applying for membership in Mensa, especially the ones that talk about legalizing marijuana, saying they don't see this and they don't see that, and then they're surprised to find out that Ken Pittman is a Barry Manilow tribute singer. Or what do you call him? Impersonator? Barry Manilow.
Enthusiast.
What do they say about men who listen to Barry Manilow? What do they say about Barry Manilow, for that matter, himself? Ferris Freud calling in from Montgomery, Alabama, capital of the state, and had a special election to fill the seat vacated by Jeff Sessions when he was elevated to become the country's chief law enforcement officer and might yet enforce the laws. We're very hopeful that Jeff Sessions will enforce the laws. But I called to talk about the role of talk radio in the most massive election frigging that has ever been seen in our great nation, our once great nation. And we're trying to make it great again, like this hat on the top of my head says, make America great again. But talk radio was part of the fraud and rigging. We call it frigging, election frigging, which gave a Democrat, if you can believe that, a victory in the state of Alabama, which just defies imagination, especially a radical liberal Democrat who believes in killing babies in the birth canal at 9 months gestation. It's follow your instincts. In other words, you couldn't believe that Alabama had that outcome, but talk radio got bought off. Remember the payola days when the guys who work in radio, you're one of the very few guys that are highly paid in radio.
Oh, yeah?
Most of the others are paid very little, and they're very subject to bribery. And we saw that in the payola days when they were just paid to play certain music. Well,
right.
Today, in this day and age, they were paid to influence their listeners, very few of whom belong to Mensa, that they should do write-in votes. And this was throughout the state of Alabama, especially my favorite station, 99.5 FM in Birmingham, Alabama, where the listeners then called in and say, how dare you go on your airwaves telling those people who listen to you, very few of whom belong to Mensa, that they should make a vote of principle and write in Mo Brooks or one of the other guys there. And then make you think that Moore lost this race. Moore didn't lose his race. Moore didn't concede. We're going for an on-demand recount. And it should be exciting because it would expose some of the 69 aspects of election frigging. And one of which, in this case, was the buying off of the talk radio show hosts to give
alleged
that aspect. Because the Democrats, this was run by Trippy. You know Trippy, who
yes.
ran this election for the communists? What was the communist name? Doug Jones. And they got him in there at all costs. And of course, Trippy is the one who runs Hillary's election frigging operation, in which she frigged Bernie Sanders out of every state that he won. He got all the votes, but she got all the delegates. I mean, how stupid do you have to be to think that election frigging is not what drives each and every election that matters in this country? And make no mistake about it, this Alabama Senate race matters tremendously to you because it's your Senate. This is not an Alabama situation. This is the United States of America situation. It affects you because you're going to have to sit and take a vote from this communist, Doug Jones, where you could have had a principled, courageous man who was a judge and told the lesbians that he was not going to marry them, regardless of what the lesbians on the Supreme Court voted. By one vote of one lesbian, you have queer marriage in this country. Are you kidding me? You got it in your state of Massachusetts by the vote of a few lesbians. And then you get it by one vote in the Supreme Court. And they tell Moore, you're going to marry these lesbians. He said, no, I won't. It's wrong. Just because it's legal doesn't make it right. So here's a man of courage and principle. And then they tell him to take the 10 Commandments out of the out of the building, and he said, "Go to hell."
He did say that. Judge Moore did refuse to take the Ten Commandments out. It's true. This was a national election. It was not a. It was not a. I've heard people say, people didn't want to go Alabama to go back. Well, it really doesn't affect. Well, it does affect Alabama because Alabama is part of America. But this is a national election. This wasn't a governor's election where it really affects the state. It was a national election where it affects the entire country. I will say this. We saw a standard down there in Alabama of attack that was unprecedented. We saw lying that was unprecedented. And the woman admitted that she fabricated the evidence. I'm not saying that vindicates Judge Moore. I'm not saying that it takes away the other allegations. But it created a standard that I think everyone in political life will be concerned with. If you're running for office now, Democrats, see what was done to Judge Moore and see what is happening with your colleagues. We may live through we are living through a rough period, but you may see it get much, much worse before it gets better. We'll take a quick break. You folks on hold, stick around. It's true. Soon it will be Christmas Day. But right now it's Sunday brunch. I'm Chris McCarthy. That's Elvis Presley. Thank you very much. Let's go right back to the phones. Good morning. Thanks for holding your live in WBSM.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Let me introduce myself as a second caller broadcaster. I'll say my name is Sam, and you know that's not true by the caller ID anyway. But anyway, I had to call when Ferris called. I just was hoping to light up the phone line so that you'd push him along. Some days I enjoy him, and some days I don't.
He's an acquired taste, and you're right. Some days you need a spoonful of sugar. Some days that won't even work.
Yeah. And I think he likes to boast your ego a little bit by talking up your show a little bit. But I appreciate your show anyway. And congratulations, by the way, on getting the new position after the first of the year.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'll be on from 10 to 12. Brian's semi-retiring. He'll still be here on the weekends, but I'll be moving in. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah. No, I think it's going to be a great addition. I listen most of the time. I always have it on in the background pretty much, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Just a quick comment. I was trying to get in yesterday for Jose's show.
Yeah.
I've been a client of his for probably 10 or 12 years, and I know there's a lot of people that kind of sit on the side and are leery about calling or leery about going to see him, but I used to think that way when, I always thought that my amount of money that I needed to invest or had for extra money to invest wasn't enough to go to somebody like him, but any amount is great, and he treats everybody the same. So
that's very nice. Yeah, he's a wonderful guy.
Yeah, I have a meeting with him this week, so to finish up some other business. But he's very great to work with, and it's one of those personal things that you don't want to share with most people. So,
right.
Yeah, you can be very very comfortable with him.
I find that I sit here across the studio from him, and I work with people all the time. I talk for a living, but really I listen for a living.
Sure.
And I can tell what people are like, and he's a very nice man, and he's very genuine. He really is.
He is. But anyway, I really didn't have much to say other than I wanted to just congratulate you on getting the new position, and I look forward to listening to you. I do like the weekend show, but I think it's going to be good to have you during the week. So I think it was a good move on their part, and nothing against Brian, but I think we need a little mix-up here, and I think you're the right guy for it.
Hey, thank you so
much. And I would be watching myself as far as that Ken Pittman jab with Barry, man.
You know I'm joking, right? You get that.
Well, I think I know.
Yeah, I was kidding around about it, but I've made the joke a couple of times, and I ran with it, and I'm definitely, look, I may never make it to the new year.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I'm probably a dead person walking right now.
It would be kind of funny to hear him sing Barry's songs, though, I think.
Well, I'll trick him into a bet and make him do it.
There you go.
Thanks a lot, my friend. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks.
Bye-bye. Yeah, Barry. Just for those of you who didn't get it, I was kidding that Ken's a Barry Manilow impersonator. But if you see him, I want you to go up and say I said that on the radio. He does the Bon Jovi tribute. Listen, stick around. We're going to be back in the next hour here on WBSM. Hey, good morning. Oh, actually, it's good afternoon. It's now past noon here on Sunday, but still brunch time. I guess it's now you can have a mimosa. You probably could have had one anyway. I don't know when they start serving alcohol at brunch. Of course, that would be one hell of a confession if I did know. But it's afternoon. We'll be at about 12:30. Then we get football. Big game today at starting at it'll be a little after 4 o'clock. It's the Patriots and the Steelers. You can catch that here on WBSM. If you're interested in some of the news stories we've been talking about today, remember you can always check those out, and they're often updated on WBSM.com by our news team. I'll be here tomorrow covering for Brian from 10 to noon. If you want to get back to us, give us a call 508-996-0500. This will be a fast half hour. We have John Zappachetti giving us a call about 12:20 to discuss his picks for the football this year. I was mentioning before we went to the news, there is a rising opportunity possibly for the states to get in on sports betting. Is that something that we ought to do? There are billions of dollars. I think it's $8 billion, maybe $10 billion waged every week. Or every year on sports. That's an estimate. It's probably higher. You just don't see raids anymore like you used to. Remember, you used to see raids like around college when they start to do the March Madness. Sometimes you'd see a raid. My father used to say to me, the only time they do raids on bookies is when the bookies aren't paying people off. That now they're just running a complete fraud. Or that, someone's got a tough election coming up. But can you imagine, and is it a good opportunity? Is it a wise decision to start to legalize? Nevada, it's legal now. You can bet on sports. But should they be betting on, sports the way we bet on the daily lottery? We can bet on the daily lottery or the Mass Millions or the Powerball. I noticed whenever I'm coming over the bridge and turning into getting to Fairhaven where I live, I go by Moriarty's Liquors, usually if I'm going over the bridge. And they have it right there in the window. A lot of other stores do. I just noticed it at Moriarty's because I'm going by there. Both of the two big ones, the Massachusetts Lottery, so they're national lotteries. There's a Powerball and Mega Millions. They're both like $250 million. Remember they used to you got to be $500 million now for them to do the live remotes at the stores. I don't know. I'd be comfortable with $250 million. You know what's nice about $250 million is you can throw a couple fuzzles around. You can throw a couple bucks around, and you can actually change a couple of friends' lives in addition to changing your own. It's when you hit for $3 million, you got to change your phone number. You hit for $250 million, you can say, yeah, here you go. What's your mortgage? There you go. Have fun. But if you legalize sports betting, creates big opportunities. For instance, to be able to go to a Celtics game, bet on the game while you're there. To go to the Patriots, go to the window. I'd like an $11 beer. I'd like a $14 hot dog, and let me put down 50. Let me put down 50. Let me give another 50 on the over and under. And because of the amount of revenue that the state would take in from it, there's a lot of opportunity there. I don't know that we want to go in that direction, but I could, for instance, see where you just add another terminal where you have the terminals for the lottery now. Use the same licensing, use the same distribution, and put the so you go to pay your daily lottery, and you can bet on the football. I don't bet on sports. I really don't bet. I really don't gamble. Except with my cholesterol. I do gamble with my cholesterol. But I don't gamble money. I don't have enough, and what I have, I don't find entertaining if I lost it because some guy dropped a pass. But plenty of you do, and that's fine. I guess. There are people who have tremendous problems with gambling, but there's nothing. You can't really stop that anyway. But is that another thing that we ought to look at? Well, it's being looked at now. The courts are looking at it. They have this weird law where only Nevada can do it. That doesn't seem fair or right. That they get that franchise. But as we get ready here, but again, I'm just thinking maybe we ought to reach out to the mafia and find out the other things they're doing that we can now give to the states to make revenue on. The other thing is that I've always felt casinos. There's another one. As we legalized casino gaming, I always thought we ought to also do a commensurate cut in either property taxes or income taxes. If it's just all the money's just flowing to the government, it doesn't trickle back down. Anyway, let's go back to the phones. Hey, thanks for holding your live on WBSM.
Good lunchtime.
How are you?
Good. Warming up there a little bit now. I have like almost 30 and a little higher in the sun. I like Ferris. Good, bad, or indifferent. I think he's one of the most interesting callers you have.
I agree.
Okay.
Love him or hate him, he's interesting.
Very much so. Any predictions for the game? This ought to be a tight one today.
No, I don't make predictions. We're going to wait till John Sapichetti gives us his informed prediction.
Oh, that'll be okay.
Oh, yeah.
And I had a 7 degree start here at 5 this morning. Oof. 7.
I know it was 13 at my house.
Yeah. Oh, and you're Fairhaven area?
Fairhaven, yeah.
Yeah, and I like Barry Manilow. He writes the songs.
Make the whole world sing.
Yeah, and I liked his. I wrote the songs, and I liked that. What you played way back, I heard you in the truck.
Bandstand Boogie.
Bandstand Boogie. That was way back, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean all this stuff. But what a lot of people don't realize about Barry Manilow is that he wrote all kinds of jingles. He wrote the Kentucky Fried Chicken song. He wrote State Farm Is There. He wrote all Dr. Pepper. He wrote all kinds of jingles.
Back to what, the 60s?
60s and 70s. Yeah, he had a whole album of jingles.
Wow. I think he's a great talent. I like all types of music, but I think a lot of people don't like him. I think he's great.
Yeah, he's a great musician. It's fun stuff. My mother loved Barry Manilow. Remember, she went to see him live, and that's how I know the stuff because I was a little kid and she played it at the house. You know.
Well, some people say they put that on for punishment for people. I don't get it.
No.
I think he's great.
Yeah.
Anyway, what are you doing for Christmas, hon?
Getting
Cooking?
presents. Oh, I don't cook. No.
You're eating.
I eat.
Thank you so much. Have a great holiday. If I don't, hey, who's starting tomorrow morning at 6?
You tune in, you'll find out.
Ah!
You like that? You got to tease the audience. Thanks, Deb. Let's go right back to the phones. Thanks for holding your live on WBSM.
Hey, how's it going, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Great. I was listening to it, and I was going to ask you something before the last caller, and I forgot. What were you talking about before the last caller?
Gambling on sports.
Oh, well, my opinion with the gambling, they have to look at it just like smoking, drinking. It's a disease. People who spend all their money. I'm not a gambler, but I smoke, so I got my own problems. But the thing is, they spend all their money. The minute they get their check, I see people. I mean, it's like it's a disease. And the thing is, why are some diseases legal, like smoking and gambling and stuff, and they're having such a hard problems with the marijuana thing when it's all over the place? Now they're talking about, you can go into a place and smoke, and you can't even buy it unless you buy it on the streets with chemicals. And they've been doing this for a long time now. I think that it's all money.
Oh, it is all money.
It has to do with money.
That's absolutely all it is. It's all absolutely has to do with money. No.
Yeah. And they don't care about legalizing marijuana. They make it legal. It all has to do with money. And the same thing with the gambling. That's a big money thing. People, if you want to gamble big, bet on something, you should do it. I'll bet $1 on this. I don't gamble, but if you want to do that, you should. The gambling that I'm against is the scratch tickets and all these high hopes they give people. They're going to be millionaires and billionaires, and they get addicted to it, just like all the other addictions.
No, I agree with you, caller. The scratch tickets are bad news. I do not like scratch tickets. And the video poker machines, those things, oof. Nasty business. We'll take a quick break. We will be right back. And good afternoon. We're back here on Sunday Brunch. I'm Chris McCarthy. It is that time of the day when we start thinking about football. Good afternoon, Mr. Sapichetti. How are you, sir?
Good afternoon, Chris. I'm doing well.
So we got a big game this afternoon.
Many big games today. Obviously, you're talking about the Patriots in Pittsburgh. Patriots 10-3, Pittsburgh 11-2. The winner gets the inside track to being the number one seed in the AFC. This is as big a regular season game as we've seen this year in the NFL. If the Patriots win, they'll be 11-3. They'll hold a tiebreaker over Pittsburgh. They win their last two at home. They'll be the number one seed, which means a bye, 2 home playoff games, and then a return to the Super Bowl. If they lose, they could be in danger of being the number 3 seed, which then means they would have to play in Wild Card Weekend, which they haven't done since 2009. They'd have to win a home game here against, say, Baltimore or Buffalo or some team like that, and maybe then have to go to Jacksonville in the divisional round and win, and then go back to Pittsburgh to win in the AFC Championship game. This is a huge, huge game.
What are your thoughts?
I think Pittsburgh's going to win. I think they're slightly healthier than the Patriots right now. The issue I have with the Patriots is the scheduling. This is going to be their 5th road game in 6 weeks, their 3rd road game in a row. Look what they've gone through the last month and a half. Travel out to play the Broncos in Denver. Stay out there for a week to prepare for a game against the Raiders in Mexico City. You win those 2 games. You come back home. You play the Dolphins, the only home game the Patriots have had over the last 6 weeks. Then you go to Buffalo, a physical game. Then Monday night, not a real good performance by the Patriots, another physical game, and now you're going to Pittsburgh, The Patriots played on Monday night, so a shorter week for them. Pittsburgh had a little more time to prepare for this, and I think right now that front seven of the Patriots is depleted. Kyle Van Noy is not going to play today, the linebacker, and also the interior lineman, Alan Branch, who's really good at stopping the run. Neither of those guys is going to play, and even with them, that front seven is depleted. I think Pittsburgh wins this game 34-27. It's always tough to go against the Patriots after they lose, but I think Pittsburgh's just a little bit better, and they're at home.
What are the games you're looking at? What do you think of some locks, if there are any?
I wouldn't say a lock. The game I'm getting really pumped up for is at 1 o'clock. Aaron Rodgers returns after missing the last 7 games. He's been on IR. He's back after having his broken collarbone repaired. He's got 13 screws and a metal plate in there. He's going to give it a go. The Packers need to run the table the final 3 weeks and then get a little bit of help to get to the postseason for what would be a 9th consecutive year. Green Bay's at Carolina. Carolina's a better team than Green Bay, but you've got Aaron Rodgers. You've got a puncher's chance, so I'm excited about that game. I wouldn't touch that one. That's going to be a very difficult game to handicap. One game at 1 o'clock that is going to pit 2 teams that have no playoff hopes. They're already out of it. I like Arizona +4 at Washington. I think the Cardinals are still playing solid football. I think Washington appears to be mailing it in the last few weeks. So I like Arizona +4 over the Cardinals at 1 o'clock.
Have you started looking at the late game?
Yeah, the night game is Dallas at Oakland. Dallas is 7-6. They're still alive for a playoff spot. After this week, weeks 16 and 17, they'll have Ezekiel Elliott back, their great running back. So if they can win tonight in Oakland, they can still be in playoff contention. Oakland 6-7. They appear to be out of it. The Cowboys are a 3-point favorite. I think they'll run the ball effectively, even without Elliott serving his final game suspension. Dak Prescott should be able to shred that secondary of the Raiders. I like the Cowboys to win by 2 scores and cover that 3-point spread. They're favorites at Oakland.
John, just to double back on because I want to make sure we got your thoughts in here on the picks. Double back on the Green Bay thing. What do you think? How's Aaron? I know that's your favorite team, Aaron Rodgers. I don't know how anyone can't like Aaron Rodgers. What are your thoughts tonight on his game?
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because, again, he's been gone for 2 months. It's not easy to come back and try to kick off some of that rust. Carolina has a top 5 defense. They can rush the passer, so that's going to be a problem for Green Bay. Green Bay's offensive line is going to have to hold up. If the Packers can have some semblance of a running game to set up play-action pass, then I think Green Bay can score enough points to win the game. The Packers' defense is bottom 10 defense. So, the rosters, if you take the 2 quarterbacks out, Cam Newton for Carolina and Aaron Rodgers for Green Bay, Carolina's a better roster, but you're going to see if there's a lot of momentum with Green Bay. They've won back-to-back games in overtime with Brett Hundley to keep their playoff hopes alive, and now they've got the best quarterback in football coming back after missing 2 months. I don't think they expected him back up until a couple of weeks ago when his rehab went really well. That could be a jolt of enthusiasm and a jolt of energy for the Packers. They may be able to carry that, but it's tough to ask a guy who's missed 2 months with a broken collarbone on his throwing side to come back and be the same as he was. But again, he's done a lot of superhuman things throughout his career, so it wouldn't shock me. Again, I think you just enjoy that game.
Yeah, I don't think he would be out there if he didn't feel he was ready for it.
Right, exactly. I mean, the healing process takes a little bit longer than 8 weeks. They say he's about at 85% now, but that's good enough to play. If it happens again that he sustains an injury, it's not one of those career-threatening type injuries like a knee, a ligament, that type of thing. If that's the case, he would have the entire offseason to heal. He wants to play. He's a competitor. That's what makes him and Tom Brady the 2 best quarterbacks in the league. In addition to their talent, they're just totally locked in to doing everything for the team, and that's what makes them both all-time greats.
Hey, have you looked at Monday night yet?
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting game. Atlanta, which has kind of flown under the radar this year, a lot of people early in the season said they'd have a hangover after blowing a 28-3 second-half lead in the Super Bowl to the Patriots, but they're 8-5, which is the same record they were last year. They're going to be going to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is injury depleted at this point. Seems like half their roster is going to miss that game. But again, it's a divisional matchup. It's at Tampa Bay on a Monday night. That could be a close one, although you've got to favor Atlanta in that situation because they have a lot more to play for. It should be an interesting game, though, because Tampa Bay occasionally, it seems like once a month, comes up with a pretty solid performance. Maybe that's going to be their one good performance in December.
Hey, John, we're not going to do bowl games. We'll get into that next weekend because it's now going to be, madness for the bowl games for college. But talk a little bit about basketball, the Celtics. What are your thoughts?
Well, the Celtics have struggled the last couple of weeks, which I think is expected in a sense. I mean, they got off to an incredible start. They had that 16-game winning streak, kind of leveled off a little bit here. They did win last night in Memphis. Memphis is a god-awful team. But the Celtics right now, they're just kind of playing solidly but not spectacularly. They've got a tough stretch here in December. A lot of games in the month of December, including a Christmas Day game here at TD Garden against the Washington Wizards. Cleveland made it all the way back. They were only 2 games behind the Celtics for the best record in the East. The key injury to look out for is Marcus Morris, who is a really solid player, good defensive player, good outside shooter, and he's been out the last couple games with a knee injury. Keep an eye on that. You want to see him come back because without Morris, it seems like the Celtics are one player short in their rotation. They've had a lot of trouble getting points off the bench. Not that Morris comes off the bench. He's been a starter, but it allows Marcus Smart to go back to the bench, and I think they're that much stronger with him coming off the bench. So just watch the Morris injury. That's a big thing for the Celtics. But the Celtics are going to be there. I expect middle to late May into early June, they're going to be playing the Cleveland Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I still think Cleveland's the better team because they have the best player in the world in LeBron James.
John, what's your website? We
go to John Sapochetti. That's John. I'll spell the last name. I just learned how to spell it a few weeks ago. SAPOCHETTI.com. That's JohnSapochetti.com. And they can follow me on Twitter at JohnSap25, the number 25.
In addition to doing your sports podcast, you're also doing a movie podcast now, right?
Yes, starting in January on CLNS Radio, a weekly half-hour movie podcast, which I have as much passion for movies as I do sports and politics. Looking forward to that. And then on WBLZ Sports, these are both internet operations. I do a weekly podcast, which people can hear Friday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. It's called the Sap and Cat Show. It's me and Cat Cornetta. We talk about sports and, all different other things. Don't really wade into politics, but sports, pop culture, movies, all of those things, and just kind of life in general.
Hey, thanks so much again, Sap, for joining us. We've been talking to John Sapochetti. Have a great day.
You too as well, Chris.
All right, thanks, buddy. It's John Sapochetti, a great guy and very knowledgeable. I'm telling you, his movie stuff, he says he's passionate about movies as he is sports. He could be more passionate about movies. He's got an incredible memory for movies as well as he does for sports. One of these guys you can talk sports with. Ken Pittman's like this in some ways too, where they can remember a play where they would have won, but if Buffalo hadn't dropped it on the dropped the ball on the 3rd yard on the third yard on the 4th down. I mean, they just know everything, and it's very, very incredible, folks. We're going to, I believe, get interrupted here by sports, but I'm never quite sure, and it's nobody else's fault but mine. As Led Zeppelin would say, it's nobody's fault but mine. But I anticipate that there's going to be a cut in here. Of course, there might not be. And if there's not, that's fine too. I'll just, I'm more than happy to sit here talking. Otherwise, I'm just at home doing it. Just totally alone in the room, talking to myself or calling people. Anyway, I don't. Matt the engineer, what do you think? Do you see anything? He tries not to think, folks. That's what's great about him being an engineer. By the way, we have a new TV here in the office. If you drive by the window, you can see it. It's an enormous TV, and Matt was able to hook it up so that I can be on there live while we're sitting here. And there's a picture of me. I was up there on the screen, and it was the TV's so big, I'm actually bigger on the screen than I am in real life. That's quite a thing. Why don't we do this? We'll go to the phones and check it out. Hey, thanks for holding your live in WBSM.
Hi, is the radio station changed their format?
To what? Boring?
Yeah. Is it? Are you going to be on in the afternoon? Or?
Oh yeah. No. Oh, I'm sorry. I was kidding around with you. No, I'll be on from 10 to 12 starting in the new year.
Oh, the new year?
Yeah.
And everything else is going to be the same, or as far as you know?
Yeah. Everything will be the same as far as I know. Of course, usually guys like me are the last to know.
Well, I hope you're better than that other guy there, Brian.
Oh, Brian does a great job.
Well, this is my opinion, I'm saying, but I hope you do a good job and stuff. Don't keep the segment the same thing and drag it long and stuff, because you guys always change your formats all the time and stuff, and and it's just that's why people listen to other radio stations and stuff. Okay, thank you.
All right. Hey, thanks so much for holding all that time to tell me that. So, Matt the engineer, what's going on? So I'm on till 1:30. All right. So we'll be here, folks. Give me a call, 508-996-0500. Thanks for holding. You're live on WBSM. Hello? Goodbye. Yeah, I'm totally technically inept. Thank God you stuck around today, Matt the engineer. Imagine if I was just sitting. I mean, I would talk till forever. Anyway, I'm more than happy to. My friends in the listening audience can call me at 508-996-0500. We still have a lot to talk about. We still have a real lot to talk about. Thanks for holding your live on WBSM.
Yes, I was want to talk about that marijuana issue that you were talking about.
Go for it, Big Al.
I will. When I'm on the motorcycle and I see people, I actually smell it while I'm behind the vehicle, makes me want to blow lunch. Seriously. And making it legal.
You hear that? You smell it on the motorcycle?
You damn right you do. You damn right. There's no two ways about it. When I'm behind a vehicle, you can smell it crystal clear. Even with a full face helmet, I do smell it, and it makes me sick. I voted against it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people voted against it. I will tell you that you don't have to. I can smell it in my car, not because it's being smoked in my car. Don't anyone jump to conclusions there, but because you know I like to ride with my sunroof down, and I have air conditioning, and it comes right into your car. It's amazing how much people are smoking. And in the better weather, when I go down, say to like Fort Phoenix, it's not. I don't smell it in the parking lot where the police could easily intercept it, but as you go down, like sort of towards the walkway to the dike area, you can smell it because people are down there smoking it. There's a lot of people smoking pot.
Yes, by all means. I voted no, and I want to tell you why. I don't want today's youth getting involved with that.
Yes, I don't think anyone does, but well, maybe some people do. But do you think it'll prevent it because it's legal, or do you think it was easier to prevent it when it was totally illegal?
Now that it's legal, you're going to find more of your youth getting involved with that. That's going to be considered a bad influence. Myself, I have young kids that are my cousins, and I do not wish for them to get influenced by that garbage that's been made legal. That's my opinion, and I'm entitled to it.
You absolutely are entitled to it. Thank you, Big Al. It's a question. Is it harder to get when it's legal and regulated, or harder to get when it's illegal? In my youth, what do we call it? Those youthful indiscretions. I think it was harder to get alcohol than it was to get marijuana, I think. But the difference was this. You always knew where to get alcohol because the supply was constant because it had a legal channel, whereas pot was harder to get, was more difficult to obtain on a regular basis. Of course, I wasn't like a big pothead, but we smoked pot once in a while. And like, the guy you might get it from just didn't have any. Just didn't have any. There was no explanation. I don't know. I just don't have any. It's dry, right? But alcohol, you just knew you'd have your various schemes to get alcohol. Turn the radio off if you have a minor child in the car right now and you don't want them to learn how Chris McCarthy was able to get alcohol as an underage kid. Well, first of all, you had to have multiple. You had to have multiple channels. You had to have multiple streams to get it, because sometimes it just fell apart. Well, there were liquor stores. It's amazing. This is all before the internet, before cell phones, obviously before texting. There was the, what Jimmy Buffett would call the coconut telegraph. Like, you just knew. Like, stuff would spread. That this package store sold to underage people. Or this guy, when he works at the package store, sells to underage people. And you'd go and get it. Or the other faithful way was going and standing in front of a package store and going, hey, man, can you buy me a case of beer? Hey, man, can you buy me a case of beer? And someone would do it. You'd have to go to, in our case, we have to go to like New Bedford to do it. To one of the bigger package stores where there's volume. And you'd see a guy go, yeah, I'll buy you a beer. What do I? Then we had a degenerate who lived in his parents' basement in our neighborhood who would buy for you. He was, I don't know, 36 going on 15. You'd go bang on that little, those little cellar windows some suburb houses have, they open in. You'd go bang on that. And he'd sell us alcohol. He'd go get us alcohol, but we'd have to buy him like a 6-pack and a pint of blackberry brandy. To this day, I'm turned off by blackberry brandy because this reprobate used to make us buy it for him. Then there was this. This is awful. We were a little older, and this girl had a fake ID. She was, or maybe she was 21. I don't know. No, she couldn't have been. But she babysat for our neighbors, and she once bought me alcohol and then felt so bad about it. She said, I'm not doing that anymore. I said, well, why not? She said, well, I'm afraid your parents will find out. And I said, if you don't buy us alcohol anymore, I'm going to tell my parents you bought us alcohol, thereby creating this incredible philosophical, mental conundrum for her that she simply was unable to escape from. And then we had her trapped. All right, we'll go back to the phones. Thanks for holding. You're live on WBSM.
Hi, I'd like to speak about this war on women.
No, I can't do it. Not right now. I'm having too much fun. That was Ferris. But no, that was Vanessa. But I can't do it. I can't do it right now. I'm on a different role. Thanks for holding. You're live on WBSM.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
I'm waiting to talk to you for a while. Talking about your cholesterol.
Yes.
Okay, just you do me a favor. You got a pen handy?
I do.
Okay, write this down. You're gonna love me after this. Give yourself 1 month on these pills. They're all natural. They sell them at. You can even buy them at Walmart. You can buy them at GNC. You can buy them at the Nature Food Store down to Earth. It's called Red Yeast Rice.
Red Yeast Rice.
Red Yeast. Y-E-A-S-T. Red Yeast Rice. You take, they're all natural vitamins, no side effects, nothing. Because the medicines the doctors give you for the cholesterol, it does damage to you big time.
Okay.
You should not be taking that. But what you do, as you take Red Yeast Rice. The first bottle you get, you take 3 pills a day, morning, noon, and right before bed. And do this for 1 month straight, and then next time you go to your doctor to check your cholesterol, you say, wow, your cholesterol's doing great. That's when you get off the pills that they're giving you. Because I got off all the pills doctors were giving me. I got off diabetes medicine, everything. I do everything natural way now. Feel so much better, Chris. You'll be surprised by all natural remedies, how much better it is for your body and how much better you'll feel.
Give me another one.
Well, I have diabetes. Do you have diabetes?
I don't, but other people might. Let's hear it.
Okay, chromium picolinate.
Yep, I know that.
And it's you take 2 a day, and you got to grab some honey. It's called raw organic honey.
Yeah, I have that at home. I have that. Yep.
Awesome. That's got so many health benefits for you, boy. I tell you, it's unbelievable. You see, cholesterol. I know I got everything written down home myself. I don't really get everything right off the hand. But as far as the cholesterol, my cholesterol was 275. It's never been over 100 after I took Red Yeast Rice.
Wow. Now you continued on the Red Yeast Rice. You still do the 3 a day.
And still to this day, I take it twice a day now, though. I take it in the morning, and then I take it before I go to bed. Because in the beginning, you got to get your cholesterol down. So you take out of the bottle you buy, you get a lot in a bottle. It's like a little red-looking pill. It's a capsule. They really work. You'll feel amazing. You'll feel so much better what you do. Once you get your cholesterol down, everything else comes down. But listen, also do this for me too to help you out. Get a firebox of baking soda, bicarbonate.
Yep.
And every day, try and do it twice a day. Once is okay, but try and do it twice. It takes acid out of your body. What you do is you put a glass of water, lukewarm, you warm it up in the pan just for like maybe 1 to 2 minutes. Then you put the water in the cup, you put the teaspoon of baking soda, bicarbonate, you mix it up good in the glass, and you let it sit there for like about a minute, let it all dissolve and, get into the fill up. And you drink the whole cup right now, right away. Just drink it right now, unswish. It also takes away heartburn.
Beautiful.
But that takes acid out of your body. And believe me, these benefits I've been on have done wonders for me. I just left my house. I'm going to DNC now to buy some more vitamins that I take for my diabetes, which I take cinnamon too.
Cinnamon's fantastic for you, right?
Awesome. Cinnamon, and I eat every day 2 bananas. I love bananas. You ever wake up and you get a pull in your leg? You jump out of bed and you're trying to get that pull out of your leg?
That's your potassium, right?
Yeah, you have 2 bananas a day. That'll go away. That'll all be gone. You'll never get no more pulls in your legs.
I love it.
I take two bananas a day, organic. I do organic, though. I like organic bananas. To me, it's the best organic. I like to try and stay everything organic.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of things I don't do organic. I'm not fully organic.
Right.
I do want to become vegan. I used to be a lot of vegetarian stuff. And I know a lot of things for people who have gout.
I haven't gotten gout in a couple of years, but I used to get it bad.
Hey, you know what? Aluminum foil?
Yeah?
You just wrap, I used to have it in my toe.
Yeah.
If you take aluminum foil, you wrap your whole foot up where you can't see your foot no more, and aluminum foil, just on the foot that hurts, you wake up the next day, you don't even feel the gout no more.
Really?
Yeah, and alpha-lipoic acid is another one. It's going to be R-lipoic. That takes away neuropathy. Some people get neuropathy in their feet, pains and stuff. You take R-lipoic acid, you don't never feel neuropathy in your feet again. That's it.
Hey, thank you so much.
I'm on it all the time because people who have diabetes get neuropathy.
I do know that. Hey, thank you so much for the call. Please don't be a stranger. I love this stuff.
Anytime, Chris.
All right, my friend. You tell me. You call anytime too.
Yeah, make sure you take that red yeast ice.
I love the red yeast. I'll get it today.
Good man.
Thank you, my friend. Guys, listen, I really appreciate that. As I say, open phones are great, and I often learn. I come here to tell you things that I have learned, but I learn more from you folks than you'll ever learn from me, and therefore you guys learn from each other. But really, I appreciate that, and I appreciate any sort of advice, helpful stuff that's worked for you, particularly with the gout. Good Lord, I used to get that so bad. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back. Hey, good afternoon, folks. So, I was lying when I said we'd be here till 1 o'clock. They're going to be coming in. Oh, I'm getting a test delay. What am I getting? Am I on the air? That wasn't the... Yeah, it was the emergency broadcast. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what... They just blast that thing out, huh? It was a test? That's your emergency broadcast system. We'll go back to the phones. Thanks for holding your live at WBSM.
I was just going to say it's hard to top that last caller, but the emergency broadcast system did that. I just want to talk about personal responsibility.
Yes.
It's a very big subject that can cover everything from lack of voting to the ability to be 400 pounds and going to McDonald's. But marijuana is one of those choices. The ability to have multiple callers call into your show 16 times a day, that's a personal responsibility. Might not be the best one, but you got to look at the impact it had in Colorado. Billions of dollars, thousands and thousands of jobs. A city like New Bedford needs that. We have homeless vets. We're closing fire stations. I mean, we have so many issues. For those who think marijuana is never the option, or even if you want to extend to the gambling aspect of sports booking, come up with a better idea. I'm all ears. If you're so anti these options, come up with a better idea. That's why I praise counselors like the one you just had on, who's a part of it. Come up with another idea. What is your other? If you're so anti-marijuana and it's easily accessible the wrong way. I know you brought up the subject about getting it from a dispensary or the streets. You don't know what you're getting from the street.
Absolutely not.
It could be spice. It could be heroin. It could be food. It could be paisley. It could be anything.
Do you? So, caller, I'm in my mid-40s. I don't know how old you are, but if you remember, when nowadays marijuana is a totally different world. When I was a kid, you got pot. It would be one experience would be totally different than the next experience.
That's not how it is now.
No, it's not how it is now. No, but what I'm saying is, when I was a kid,
medicinally, the benefits, medicinally, not saying that I smoke or not. But being aware of the education of it is something that I want to stress to people who are against it. Research. Look online the research. Look online the benefits of an oil. Me, with the background I have with a lot of dogs who shake a lot, if they take a certain oil, they stop shaking. That's something that's huge. I mean, look up the benefits or the negatives before bashing it is all I'm saying.
You're saying giving marijuana oils to dogs?
Not the dogs, no, not the oils, not the marijuana oils, but the other oils. But the name escapes me. Actually, it's sold down the street from me. Those oils, but the CBD oil, oil.
But it's derived from cannabis.
Yes, but it's not THC.
It's
derived from it. Like the CBD oil would be like a benefit, something like that. But marijuana, I mean, there's so many people in pain. There are so many people in this city that are depressed, that are miserable. They need other options to help them besides giving them pills. Pills. Pills does one thing. If you take pills, you gain 60 pounds, and then you become what? You become more depressed. Yes. There's other outlets out there, exercise and stuff, but you have to have the motivation of it. And some people think marijuana will just, you want to eat and sleep and eat and sleep. Some strains allow you to have energy to want to get out of bed and do things. So my whole thing is, if people are against it, fine. Come up with a better solution. What can make this city money?
I think that makes sense. What did Harry Truman say? Any jackass can kick down a barn. It takes a craftsman to build one. I don't often quote Harry Truman, but it's a pretty legitimate point. It doesn't take much to tear something down. It takes a craftsman to build it. At the same time, look, we have a civil society. We want to put some regulations forward. That's why I have praised Joe Lopes for putting together that committee in New Bedford and Ian Abreu for helming it, taking over, being the chairman of it, and have conversations, thinking about stuff, forward planning. Truthfully, New Bedford, I think, was the first and probably remains one of the few communities in Massachusetts that created a committee to look at this when it first started. Because what Fairhaven does is not necessarily going to translate to what works for New Bedford and vice versa. Up in Lakeville, where I have wonderful friends on the Board of Selectmen up there, they're looking at this issue. They're in favor of it. Lakeville's an entirely different community than Fairhaven and New Bedford. While it's got more in common with Fairhaven than it probably does with New Bedford, you see what I'm saying? Every community needs to figure out what works for them, what absolutely works for them, and act accordingly. So, yeah, you've got to figure out what you're going to do. And we do have to have a society here. I can tell you, I saw a quick article today that the malls across America are not seeing a boost in sales this year. At least as far as we can tell right now. They're not seeing a big boost. And what does that mean? I mean, we base our local economy in Massachusetts, when I say our tax revenues are very, very dependent upon property taxes. And a lot of people are dependent upon the commercial rate in their community. If that starts to evaporate because things have changed. Imagine there used to be a lot of revenue from the blacksmith industry, which isn't around really at all. There's a few places. I know in Westport you can get your horse shoed. But think about it. There used to be blacksmiths probably everywhere at one time. It's gone. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back. This is Sunday Brunch. It's the original format. We're here till 1 o'clock. Let's go back to the phones. Thanks for holding. You're live at WBSM.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I want to talk to you about the marijuana situation.
Go ahead.
A lot of people that are concerned about the federal level legalization. That little elf on the shelf, Sessions, ain't going to be the Attorney General for much longer.
That's possible,
the country's heading in the right direction as far as the legalization of marijuana is concerned. And the other interesting tidbit that people need to understand about medicinal marijuana, as far as even recreational marijuana, the largest investor in medicinal and recreational marijuana infrastructure is none other than Goldman Sachs. So Wall Street's involved in this. So if Wall Street wants it, you better well believe that it's going to become legal in all 50 states.
I would say to you that I agree with you that it's certainly trending that way, and you're right. I mean, you get the big money people behind it, then it's obviously going to have the horsepower that it needs.
Yeah, and another thing that people need to understand too, when you're talking a dispensary, you're not talking somebody's garage. Okay, these dispensaries. There's one that's in Brookline that's in an old bank. It's a beautiful building, highly secure, with a police officer out front. There's plenty of other dispensaries throughout the state. There is no massive increase in crime. There's actually no crime increase at all. The tax revenues, unfortunately, because it's federally criminal event, the tax revenues have to come in cash, which is a major pain for the local municipalities. The other thing, too, is these are legitimate businesses. These are, fly-by-night. These are high-end, highly educated individuals. You've got professional horticulturists that are involved. You've got professional engineers in the construction of these dispensaries, and more importantly, the grow houses. The grow houses are not these, garage setups. These are multi-million dollar setups.
You mean it's not like
massive?
It's not like the operation in my fraternity house in the attic in the 1990s?
No, sir. No. Some of these grow lights are $3,000 a piece. Okay?
Right.
So this is a business. This is a full-fledged business. The only major pushback you get is from the pharmaceutical industry itself that sees the threat to their bottom line.
Hey, caller, we're coming up to a hard break, so I'm going to lose you regardless of the fact that I want to keep you on. I'll be back here tomorrow, though. If you can join me from 10 to 12, that'd be great. I really enjoy this conversation. There's so many people that know so much about this marijuana and and what's going on with it. They've been studying it, and I really appreciate your input on that because I think it helps all of us get a better understanding of what's going on. I'm Chris McCarthy. This has been Sunday Brunch. Stick around for NFL football after the news. We're going to have some other stuff, too.